Welcome back to the class, everyone. As of recently, we've been talking a little bit about key mistakes to avoid when you're building up your roster in Galaxy of Heroes. And today, I want to continue that theme, but from the opposite perspective. What are 3 things that you can do that will help fix your roster so that you will not only build it faster, but you'll build it more efficiently? So one of the reasons why this is coming up is because we've got a lot of requests for people who don't feel like they're moving fast enough with what they're building up. They assume that they're going for the right thing because they've been told the character or the team is good, but at the same time, they haven't really figured out how to weave everything together or what the order should be. And I really do understand this because in a kind of very positive way, looking at CG, they have, as of recently, kind of made every single team out there, or rather every single character out there, good in some form or fashion. The reason why this is good is because, you don't have any useless characters lying around. But the reason why this is bad is because this makes it more complicated for you as the player to know what you're supposed to go after first from a value perspective. So there are 3 things that we really need to focus on when building up a roster that need to kind of come first. And the first one, and this just makes sense, we need to be focusing on teams that provide more resources. What do I mean? Within the game, there are a lot of player versus event type events that will allow us to get resources on a weekly or monthly basis that will allow us to build other teams in other places. So I'm not sure of a bad example of this over here to the side, but there's a lot of other really good teams here. But one of the things that I like about Imperial Troopers is they're not just a good team, but they're going to set you up for success later in the game because they can be used to complete 2 different assault battles. So what is an assault battle? Why is this important? And by the way, this is just an example. There are plenty of other resource events in the game that you can use to build up. Imperial Troopers just happens to be a really good example. So right here, this is an assault battle. This is not the one pertaining to Imperial Troopers, I believe. But within this event, you can get signal data as well as relic salvage. 4 relics, both of those. You get the gear 12 finishers, which, by the way, I don't think I've ever had to farm these through a node because the assault battles just give you so much on a monthly basis, assuming you have kind of all of them maxed out. It also gives you Chirotech that'll help you get up to that gear 12 point. Zetas, which are always important. And then there's some other miscellaneous things in here that really aren't that relevant for me, but if you're building up your roster, they can be nice. So when, again, we're looking at building up our roster, we can't just be going and picking some random team. We first and foremost need to be focusing on these resource-driven teams that will unlock events like that so that every single month you're getting those Kairos, you're getting that relic salvage. So then you can go and build that other team that you really like that's good in PvP, and you can get crystals from GAC in that way. But it really needs to start here because this is set in stone. You will, if you get this team done, you will always get there. And by the way, like Moff Gideon, this isn't like a hard rec for this team. What it needs to be, you can put like Captain Stark in there. I'm not really gonna fight about that. The next thing that I want to talk about is, we talked about assault battles. I want to talk about the crate raid. So I realize the crate raid can be really daunting whenever we make videos about it. We're typically targeting ginormous teams like Jabba, no pun intended, or Maul or Tuskens, and they can be really challenging because they're either a conquest unit or they're really new marquees that aren't accelerated yet. But one thing that we need to do is take one step at a time when it comes to the reward structure, and both from a guild perspective and a personal perspective, we need to be hitting this box, the 25 million box. I realize like these are really good rewards here, but from a practical level, any player who's building stuff up needs to be getting this amount of MK1 and MK2, which, by the way, that's the max. It doesn't matter what box you get after that 25 million one, that's what you're gonna get. So if we go all the way down here, it's still the same exact amount of 8,250 and 4,850. So if you can get to this box right here, you're getting the same rewards that I am, or like the 12 million account is. It's going to be super beneficial to your roster, and it's going to help you grow and be able to get all the gear 12s and even gear 13s before relics with those materials that you're going to be able to go to the store or buy. And again, similar to the assault battle thing that we were talking about before, this is a reoccurring event. It's constantly here, and the 25 million, it's not that impossible of a goal. You can do that without having Maul, without having Jabba, without having Tuskens. And that's kind of why the team we had sitting there before was Old Republic, because that's a more accessible team and it can pull off a decent score even at Gear 12. The other thing that I want to talk about is as far as personal rewards go. So if the 25 million box is kind of, the gold standard for wanting to build up resources pre-relics, personal rewards, it's going to come down to this one right here of 2.2 million. This is a little bit harder to obtain, but really, if you're pulling enough weight in your guild, let's say you're getting 500,000 or a million every single raid, you can probably apply for a guild of this size and be able to get it, because you're going to be pulling your equal amount of weight within that guild. And I think, again, one of the more accessible teams that can prove results in the crate raid team is this Jedi Knight Revan team. You don't necessarily need to have these 3 R5. They can be lower, and you can still get that 450k or 100,000 damage box with them and be able to get closer and closer to the 25 million. And I think probably the second best team, again, from an accessibility point of view, not from a overall value point of view, is going to be a bounty hunter team led by Jango that has a mix of either Mandalorians or Hutt Cartel. I actually currently use one right now. I believe it's Jango led with our OG Mando, as well as Embo, Greedo, and Cad Bane. It does pretty well for 450,000. So if you get these two teams built up, whatever else Jawas you kind of get mixed in there, and you get up to that 1 million box, you should be able to get into a guild that's still going for the 25 million, and again, be able to get that massive amount of resources that's going to not just let you build more crate raid teams, but that's going to let you build other teams in the game. So that is really the first thing you can do to fix your roster. Start working on teams that are going to get you more resources so that you can get more teams and build on itself, rather than going for the team that doesn't really have a lot of resources involved in it, and then you don't really get to accelerate anything. Next up, the next concept we want to talk about is learning to complete and taking advantage of farms you have mostly done. So the top example here, really what we're looking at is, let's say you want to go for Giant Luke, which is awesome. Giant Luke's a great character, and you get him and you get to the other side and you have these 3 characters who are all pretty good, and you're wondering, what shell should I do? This isn't, there's kind of a team here. We really need to learn to start completing the things that we already have halfway done. So if you have these 3 characters from that event, go ahead and throw Nubaka and Han in there. Farm them up, or farm rather 3PO up from the hard node that he's on. Gear him up. He doesn't have to be at relics like the other characters will because of the event. He will service at gear 11 or gear 12 for quite some time. Han, again, you'll need him R8 for Jabba at some point, but if you're nowhere near Jabba, get him at least to gear 12. You're probably going to get his shards from that MK1 currency that we just talked about and build up the team. And this is something that needs to kind of be done everywhere. Let's say you were playing the game in the very beginning and you really didn't understand it, but you really liked the Phoenix squad and you got all of them built up and you put them all in here, and now your roster isn't really that stellar, but you have a gear 12 Phoenix squad. Get Rex. Learn that to use what you already have rather than going chasing the brand new shiny team. And I know they're great, but if you're a beginning player, the Inquisitors are actually a really good example of what not to do. And again, they're very good, but why am I saying that? The chances of you having 1 or 2 or 3 of these done and then going and finishing out the rest of the faction is probably not high at all. This is a team that you're going to have to start entirely from scratch. And again, they can be good. They do have a lot of resources involved in them, especially between the assault battle and Reva herself from the territory battle, but that's more of a mid-end game thing to do. If you're trying to fix your roster to be able to build it up, this type of concept, again, nothing against Inquisitors, but this concept of having to go after 5 brand new characters, we want to be finishing the teams that we've already started first. Again, going back to that Phoenix example with Rex, or that Chupio example with Commander Luke. Another one that's pretty plausible for a lot of people, if you've gone after Starkiller, you have Talon, which is good. And Trey is very accessible through MK1. You can build her up naturally through that. If you already have these 2, get one of the best GAC teams out there by gearing up Savage, Nihilus, and Scion. Savage probably isn't needed for a lot of the offensive uses. It does bring the team to a whole nother level on defense, though, that is overall very good, and it'll be able to bring you a lot of worth. Again, we're going for learning to complete and taking advantage of the characters you already have, so you don't have to go out and find some other new team from the ground up. We will do that eventually, but this is what we need to be doing first. We need to be completing the teams so that we have them ready for GAC, Territory Wars, whatever it is comes our way. And last, but certainly not least, the third way that you can fix your roster is by focusing on characters that will carry entire teams. So when we want to gear up a new team, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Inquisitors before, typically in most scenarios, you're going to have to take all 5 characters to either Gear 12 or Gear 13 or Relics. And while that's great and all, there are some teams out there that if you just focus on one character, it can already become viable. Maybe not as viable as it would be if all 5 were Relics, but it can already become viable with just that one character being built up the way that it needs to be. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is 5 really good practical examples of characters you can build up that can carry your roster. And the first one is General Grievous. If you just put him with whatever droids or separatists with him in the leader slot, and specifically on defense in GAC, this team is such a pain in the butt, because despite the fact that you only have one relic character on your side, the rest can be like Gear 11 or Gear 10 or Gear 9, and he will just constantly keep getting turns every single time one of them dies, and he'll dispel all debuffs on himself, and whenever the defeat, he'll dispel all debuffs on himself, receive all those cooldowns, and he'll gain 1 bonus turn. So you essentially get this Metaloid monstrosity on defense for just having geared this one character. He really doesn't need to be R7 for what it's worth. I noticed most of the value came out of him the second he hit about Gear 13 or Relic 1, because there's huge modding advances that come when he gets to that finished gear level of Gear 13. The difference between a Gear 12 Grievous health modded and a Gear 13 health modded Grievous is huge. So get him at least that high and watch him carry the rest of that team with whatever droids, separatists or otherwise, you have, and he'll do really well. Next up is going to be Daka. This is one that I still do to this day. So not trying to brag, but for context, I have a 10 million roster, which is a very, very big roster. I still use and / abuse this Night Sister theory, where I have left most of my Night Sisters at Gear 12, or I guess Gear 11 with Marin, and just specifically taking up Daka to Gear 13, because what I can do here is watch the rest of the team just die, melt away. Daka can keep reviving them, and every single time that they're dying, she is gaining 10% max health stacking. That is her Zeta. So she can essentially just become invincible until someone hits her with max health damage or something of the sort. And then between Asajj and Mother Talzin using Plague and healing immunity, and Asajj will also get stacking offense, you just melt the enemy team. This is one of the original counters to General Grievous, and it can be completed at these gear levels. If you mod Daka correctly for health, just to make sure she doesn't die right off the rip there, and she'll gain a ton of turn meters, so speed isn't entirely important with her, you can, again, have a whole team to use offensively with only using one unit to carry, which is going to be Daka. So that was two of the really good examples. One that's talked about a lot less, and I feel like because a lot of the other characters' requirements is probably why it doesn't see so much time in the sun. But Fives here is another good example of something that I did for a while. I don't do it anymore. But if you take Fives up to high relic, so relic 7 or something like that, and leave the rest of the 501st clones to Gear 12, his tactical awareness Zeta, he's going to give all of his max protection, max health, speed, and offense to all those Gear 12 units, and they're just going to be entirely juiced because his stats are so huge when he gets higher up to relics. So instead of, taking the whole team to say relic 3 or relic 5, you just take him to relic 7, and he gets to distribute all of his relic 7 stats to the rest of the team. So again, is the team more viable if it was all entirely at relics? Sure. Does putting 5s there help them carry and beat teams that they wouldn't normally beat without it? Also, yes. So very good addition to this carry concept method. Vader, we could probably have put Vader and Wampa and some other characters in this category, where in the beginning game and a little bit in the mid game, they have the potential to just solo entire teams, so the rest of the team can kind of be fodder. I mean, you maybe take some Empire, some Sith, so that Vader gets a nice speed boost from his unique, so that he can go first and get Merciless Massacre, can actually kill off the Geos or whatever it is you're facing. But he's another character that will just carry the team hardcore if you let him. If you get him up there to the point where his damage, he's able to cull someone on the very first session of Merciless Massacre and start reducing the enemy numbers, and then looping back around and getting them again. Echo is a good example. The only thing that's going to differ on Echo from the other characters, and again, he's an example, and there's probably others of these that are in the game, is modding. If you can get Echo fast enough, regardless of where the rest of your team's mods are at. And I mean, this is an atrocious speed. You don't need to be this high. 350 or 340 will, yeah, honestly, even 330 would be enough to beat a lot of like General Grievous or Geonosians or First Order teams. If you can get his speed really high, he will carry the rest of the team, because if they start with a bunch of buffs right out the gate, he'll dispel all of that. He will give a ton of turn meter to the rest of this team, and you can just kind of wipe them from there. One of the other cool things that's not really involved in Echo's kit, but in Hunter's leadership, is once they get defense up, they start doing true damage as well. So you just have a lot of things within Echo's kit. They're going to help you, or really help him, or her. He's going to help you carry the team to the point where you don't have to give atrociously good mods to 5 characters. You can just focus on giving it to 1. So a very similar concept to the rest of them, focusing in on those 1 character so you can start getting value from a whole team with only having to do the work of 1 unit. So that is going to be it. This is 3 ways that you can fix your roster. Focus on teams first that are going to yield resources. They're going to come back into your roster so you can build more. Learn to complete and take advantage of units that you've already gotten for whatever reason, whether it be for a legendary or just straight up convenience or because you thought the character was really cool. And last but not least, focus on teams that can just have 1 unit carry them for a while you're building them up so you can have more bang for your buck. That is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay awesome.